So why is it that over 95% of golfers get their 3-wood out, put what they think is a good swing on it, just can't hit it? Now, it might not be that bad, but very often people comment for me, and certainly when they see me face to face, how they top it, they fat it, they thin it, and very, very occasionally they get that really good one of a solid strike, and it goes exactly how the dream 3-wood should go. But they've no idea which one's coming, and that last one is so rare, it even gets to the point where they just don't want to hit 3-wood. But they know they need to because they need the distance with those approach shots. Now, certainly this is aimed more at golfers hitting 3-wood from the ground, because, and comment below if this is something that you do. They find on the ground it's really difficult, but if it sits in the semi-rough or on a little tee, they actually hit some really, really good shots. So let's talk about what we want to achieve with 3-wood. We obviously just want to make a fairly normal golf swing, but to strike the ball hopefully out the middle of the club face and get the ball going a good distance. But I think for a lot of golfers, when they put the 3-wood behind the golf ball, this is where the challenges become. There's not a lot of loft on it, and actually as you sit the club behind the ball, actually you can see there that the ball is very, very low on the club face. So we can't get back to that position because it's going to be low off the face. And what we will see is that there is actually curve to the face. So the 15 degrees is in the middle of the face, lower down the face has less loft, and higher up the face has more loft. So we need to find a way of potentially getting higher on the face on the golf ball. But it sounds really easy, doesn't it? But everything golfers talk to me about with 3-wood makes it more difficult for them to do it. So they put the ball forward and they think about, can I try to sweep? Just sweep the ball away. And if I try and sweep one, I've actually struck that very, very nicely because I've got away with that a little bit. That the low point was 1/2 inch behind the golf ball, so the club has actually travelled down through impact, but only 0.2 degrees. Now, like I said, got away with murder there, and it was a great shot. But anytime the low point of the golf swing's behind or too far behind, we're either going to touch the ground back here, or if we miss the ground, the club's moved up, and that's where we're going to strike it very, very low on the face, or even hit halfway at the ball, or the top of the golf ball. So the next thing I hear golfers do is to say, right, I need to hit down on the golf ball. But they find it really, really hard with that ball being forward. And when they hit down, they just crash into the ground way behind the ball. So if you're working through this video with me at the practice ground of the driving range, it's even better. So I want you to think about if this was a 7-iron. Obviously, it's not. But we'd have the ball in the middle of our stance. And in a perfect world, the lowest point of our golf swing would be opposite that left kind of armpit. So we'd swing back, and as we start our downswing, we move towards the target, and then we can see we would touch way ahead of the golf ball. But there's that dilemma that because there's no loft on there, feels like there would be no loft at impact. So golfers are trying to get the ball in the air. So we're going to do a couple of practice swings like we've just done there. And I can see there I would touch probably a good 4 inches ahead of the golf ball. So then I would want you to experiment. Get the ball in the middle of the stance. Make that swing. And we can see there that even though the low point was 5 inches ahead, the club's travelled down 4 degrees, but I've still got 9.8 degrees loft because of the strike location on the face. And it's a great shot, 227 carry and 261 total. Now for me, I could get away with that because of the speed I swing. But if I swung slower, that would have never really got up in the air and wouldn't have gone anywhere. But if you are a golfer that is the ball in the middle and shifting across like you do with the iron, you get 3-wood coming out super, super low. That could be something as easy then, that low point's too far ahead. And as the clubs get into the low point, it's traveling down and it's de-lofting the golf club. So even though I've kept loft because of the strike, that would be too exaggerated. But we want your movement to be consistent. And we can see I'm touching the ground here. So like I said, maybe 4 or 5 inches ahead. So now, for me personally, I could move that ball a couple of inches forward, set up, put that good swing on it. And again, a great strike. All of a sudden, the low point now only 1.9 inches ahead. Clubs travel down 2 degrees, launching at nearly 13, carry at 230 and total nearly 250. But I think the thing for most golfers to understand is that not every single golfer gets the low point in the exact same place as the golf swing. And if you're a golfer who, and I see lots, that even with an iron and them feeling the moving well, they're only getting the low point an inch ahead with the ball in the middle. You're somebody who could probably keep 3-wood in the middle of your stance. If you're somebody who hits the ball excessively low, you actually might need the ball way forward, and that would be that your low point would still only be slightly ahead. And this is something I wish I had known. I've done videos on this before. I wish I'd have known this when I was a junior golfer, because everything for me was ball opposite that left heel, kind of almost feeling like I was a little bit more weight on my back foot. And even though I did hit some decent shots, we can see they're very low off the face, low point 2.4 inches behind, clubs travelled up 1.4, and it's kind of okay. But that was the good one for me with the fairway wood. And it was so easy just to miss the ground a little higher and top it. And bearing in mind I was a decent iron player, I always felt 3-wood was an absolute killer for me after a good tee shot. So again, we'd want you to set up, ball position would be in the middle, make the swing, and pay attention on the mat if you're touching that part of the mat, or if you're on the grass, where you're touching the ground, because you want to touch the ground, but we want to touch the ground after the golf ball. And if you're in the middle there, and you feel that touching the ground further ahead than would be nice, you can move the ball forward. If you're only touching just after, you want to stay there, but you can move that ball position forward, put the swing on it, and really start hitting 3-wood how it's meant to be hit and getting some fantastic results with the ball on the ground.